Hello dear students, I am Dr. Shikha Pandey, Associate Professor from the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So today I am going to discuss about the solid waste, like the municipal solid waste and its management. Like municipal solid waste that is generating from the solid waste activity and its management. How can it will be managed? It's from the starting of its originating point to its management up to its management. So let's start the basics of solid waste, like from where it will be coming. So rapid population growth and urbanization in developing countries has led to people generating enormous quantities of solid waste and consequent environmental degradation. So this solid waste is originating due to the urbanization in developing countries, and it will leads to the solid waste and consequent environmental degradation. The waste is normally disposed in open dump, and that will create nuisance and environmental degradation. Next point is that solid waste causes a major risk to public health and the environment. Management of solid waste is important in order to minimize the adverse effects posed by their indiscriminate disposal. So this solid waste is also originating due to the rapid population growth and the urbanization activity in developing countries that will lead to people generating enormous and too much quantities of solid waste, and this will lead to environmental degradation because sometimes people will dump all these solid waste in an open dumping, and it will create nuisance and environmental degradation. Now comes to the next point. This is about the solid waste. We can define as the unwanted matter which is generated by the society that does not have any economic value from the point of view of the first owner. Like that, from the point of view of first owner, solid waste is defined as the unwanted matter which is generated by the society, and that will not have any economic value. So that we can say at the waste or a solid waste. And the amount of per capita waste generated in India, like per capita waste generated in India is about 0.252 to 2.5 kg per day. A normal human being can produce a waste from 0.25 to 2.5 kg of solid waste per day. It can be defined as the solid waste management can be defined as the discipline associated with control of generation, storage, collection, transport of waste, and then processing and disposal of solid waste in a way that will be best address the range of public health, conservation, economic, aesthetic, engineering, and other environmental consideration. So this is all about the basics of solid waste management. Solid waste management is a discipline or is a way associated with the control of generation, storage, collection, transport or transfer, processing and disposal of solid waste material in a way that best addresses the range of public health, conservation, economic, aesthetic, engineering, and other environmental consideration. And a normal human being, a per capita solid waste generation in India is from 0.25 to 2.5 per kg per day for a normal human being. And solid waste, now we will categorize. We will now the types of solid waste that is coming from the today's society. That will be a great matter of concern for today's society. The first one is the municipal solid waste, industrial waste, hazardous waste, biomedical waste, agriculture waste, and mining waste. Municipal solid waste is those solid waste that will be originating from the municipal solid waste, like from a normal human being household activity. So that will be called as garbage that is producing by our daily to daily activity. Industrial solid waste is those waste that will be originating due to the industrial activity. From the industries, those waste that is generating from the industries is called as industrial waste. And hazardous waste is those waste that have some hazardous quality, like lead, that will be generated, like radioactive waste, the waste generated due to the radioactive activity, nuclear power plant, is called as hazardous waste. And next is the biomedical waste that is generated from the hospital is called as biomedical waste, like animal tissue waste, like a syringe that is originating due to the human solid waste that is originating from hospitals, like syringe, cotton, some catheters, some animal waste, some human tissue, that comes under the category of biomedical waste. And biomedical waste is very much dangerous waste, because biomedical waste can produce infection very fastly. And next one is the agriculture waste. Those waste that is producing due to agricultural activity is called as agricultural waste. And next one is the mining waste that is producing by the mining activity is called as mining waste. And the solid waste are being produced since the beginning of civilization, and the disposal of solid waste has been increased due to the rapid development in industrialization and urbanization. Factors for the generation of more solid waste is the main factor for the generation of more solid waste are the high population density, intensive land use for residential, and next one is the commercial and industrial activity. And all these are due to the more population growth, more population and high population and commercial and industrial activity. All these are the reason for generation of more solid waste is due to the high population density and intensive land use for residential activity, commercial and industrial activity. And the basics of solid waste is like solid waste are being produced since the beginning of civilization, and the disposal of solid waste has been increased due to the rapid development of industrialization and urbanization. So now comes to the next thing. This is about it is the commonly municipal solid waste. This is like those waste that is originating from today's what we are doing. So it is commonly known as garbage, consisting of it consists of packing materials, furnitures, clothing, bottles, food scrap, newspaper, home appliances, paints, batteries, etc. So these are the municipal solid waste, and municipal solid waste is arise from the residential areas, commercial areas, market, hotel, garage, institution, public places, open area, streets, park, playground. Municipal solid waste is those waste that is the normal waste that is called as garbage. That is and packing that example is that packing materials, furnitures, clothing, bottles, food scraps, newspaper, home appliances, paints, batteries, etc. And it will be originating from the residential quarter, commercial space, market space, hotels, garages, institutions, public places, open areas, street, parks, playgrounds. So these are the places from where that municipal solid waste is originating. And MSW include the following waste. First one is the food waste. Food waste example is that generates from the houses, hotels, markets, and it consists of fruit, vegetable peelings, residue that is relating from the handling, preparation, cooking, and eating of foods. Next one is the rubbish waste that consists of combustible papers that will be combustible. And example is that that combustible waste is the papers, cardboard, torn cloths, plastic, oats, etc. And non-combustible waste are the glass, crockery, aluminium tins, ferrous metals, construction waste. Next one is the demolition and construction waste, those that results from the construction, remodeling, and repairing of residential, commercial building and industrial factories. These waste include dust, stone, concrete, bricks, steel pieces, etc. Next one is the special waste. Include street sweeping, roadside litter, drainage, debris, dead animals, and abandoned vehicles parts. And also the sewage and sewage waste. Sewage is the dirty water that it was originating from our household activity, and the sewage waste is again the feces and matter that will be originating from the household activity. So these are the types of the means which waste is coming under the category of MSW, municipal solid waste. So food waste, rubbish waste, demolition and construction waste, special waste, sewage and sewage waste, all are coming in the MSW. MSW food waste, then only those waste that is generating from the domestic house, hotel and markets. Rubbish waste like some paper, cardboard torn, it should be a combustible material, sometimes non-combustible also, like a glass, crockery, aluminum tins cannot be combustible. And demolition and construction waste that will produce from the remodeling and repairing of residential area. And special waste include street sweeping, roadside litter. All these are the special waste. And comes to the next thing about the industrial waste, like those waste that arise from the industrial activities, like chemical industries, metal and mineral processing industries, road active waste, radioactive waste generated from nuclear power plants, thermal power plant produce fly ash in large quantity, chemical industries producing large quantities of hazardous and toxic materials. Other industries produces packing material, rubbish, organic waste, acid, alkali, scrap metal, rubber, plastic, paper, glass, wood, oils, paint, dyes, etc. So this is the examples of industrial waste from the industrial activity. And the industrial chemical industry includes metal and mining processing industries, radioactive waste from nuclear power plant, thermal power plant producing fly ash in large quantity, chemical industry producing large quantities of hazardous and toxic material, other industries like producing packing material, rubbish, organic waste, acid, alkali, scrap metal, rubber, plastic, paper, glass, wood, oil, paints, dye, etc. These are the activities producing from the industrial waste. And next one is the hazardous waste. Waste can be defined as the any solid waste or the combination of waste that poses a substantial danger now or in future to a human being and plants and animal life, and cannot be handled or disposed. And disposed its example is the disposed syringes from hospital are a specific source identified as a hazardous solid waste. And ignitable material, like those materials that can ignite very easily, and very easily that can be inflammable, and that can be inflammable at 60 degrees Celsius also. And corrosive materials like iron rods and pieces. Reactive materials undergoes rapid reaction with water or other substances and releases toxic gases. Toxic materials which consist of lead and arsenic, that will be toxic for the human beings. These are the examples of hazardous waste. Hazardous waste is very much dangerous for a normal human being. So hazardous waste we can define as the any waste that can be inflammable at very fast, that can be very much reactive, that can be corrosive, that can be inflammable below 60 degrees Celsius temperature. So all these waste, those having the characteristics like corrosivity, high inflammability, high toxicity, that comes under the category of hazardous waste. So these are some gases is there that is very much toxic to human being, that release some toxic waste gases. So they are very much toxic for human beings. So they are called as hazardous waste. Next one is the biomedical waste. This type of waste generated during diagnosis, treatment, immunization, and research on animal model drug testing. It consists of human anatomical waste, animal waste, etc. It includes material like sharp anatomical, surgical waste, body fluids, culture of microbes, syringe, swab, bandage. It may be highly infectious, and proper care should be taken to dispose it off. So these are the category of biomedical waste. Biomedical waste are very much dangerous waste, and it is very highly infectious for a human being, and proper care should be there for the handling of biomedical waste. Every hospital have their different type of bins for the disposal of their biomedical waste. Now comes to the next type of thing, that is what we're going to discuss about the effects of solid waste. Means if we'll not do the proper disposal of solid waste, then these effects will causes, like it will create breeding of disease. Rats and pig forms and feed on garbage and transmit disease like brain fever from pigs to human being, and plague from rats. Solid waste may choke the drains and gully pits, resulting in water logging, which in turn result in breeding of mosquitoes and then cause for malaria and dengue in human beings. And Noxious fumes will produce. Noxious fumes is nothing but the harmful gases that is producing from the waste that will be disposed of in an open area, and that will causes pollute air pollution due to burning of waste, and especially plastic containers. And sometimes burning of plastic container will produce a very toxic chemical called as dioxin. Dioxin is very much harmful for the human beings, and if we will directly inhale the dioxin, we'll get asthma problem. Many health related issues there. Solid waste may sometimes choke the drains and gully pits, resulting in waterlogging condition, which in turn result in breeding of mosquito and then cause for malaria and dengue. Malaria and dengue is caused with the improper dumping of solid waste, and rat and pigs form and feed on garbage and transmit diseases like brain fever from pigs to human beings, and plague from rat. Next one is it will produce some obnoxious smell, very unpleasant smell due to the open dumping of solid waste, and odor pollute the air due to decomposition of organic solid waste. And municipal solid waste heap up on the road due to improper disposal, and every year several tons of solid waste is dumped along the highways, thereby spoiling the landscape appearance of an area of land. And urban and industrial solid waste often contain a variety of toxic chemical which may enter into the food chain and affect both industrial and terrestrial and aquatic organisms. So municipal solid waste heap on the road due to improper disposal system. Every year several tons of solid waste is dumped along the highways, thereby spoiling the landscape. And next point is the urban and industrial solid waste often contains a variety of toxic chemicals which may enter into the food chain and affect both terrestrial and aquatic organisms. So solid waste management. What does solid waste management include? So it involves a basic step: waste generation to mode of collection, and then its transportation, then segregation of waste, and next is the disposal technique. Solid waste management involves the generation of waste, then the collection of waste, and after collection of waste, the transportation of waste, and then segregation of waste. For segregation should be done for the combustible material, non-combustible material, biodegradable waste, non-biodegradable waste, MSW or some industrial waste, and then we should apply the disposal technique for that particular waste. So it can be shown in that figure. You will easily understand. First one is the disposal of waste, and then transfer to the processing unit, means which waste want which kind of processing unit, and then it's loading into the vehicle and temporary storage in containers. So this is all about the management of solid waste. Solid waste management. Solid waste management steps involved from the origin to the disposal technique. To the disposal technique of that waste. That comes under that will be the main basics of the solid waste management. So in any solid waste that is generated from our society, that will be either municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, biomedical waste. First step is the mode of collection of waste, then its transportation to a smaller area, a particular unit from where they are there. The people will do the segregation of waste, like which waste should need which type of treatment, and then it's a disposal technique, and then its transportation to the particular area so that their disposal will do from that area. Now comes to the next thing. This is about the reduce recycle of the raw material. So first one is the reduction. If the usage of a raw material is reduced, the generation of waste is also get reduced. So if we will reduce the raw material reduce, then this will becomes under the category of reduce. So R3 is there. R3 involve reduce, reuse and recycle of solid waste. So these are the three R's for solid waste management. 3R involve reduce, reuse and recycle. This is the 3R. And reuse is like refillable container that are discarded after use can be reused. So those waste that can be reused after their use, so that cannot be discarded. So its example is that a rubber ring can be made for discarded cycle tubes, and this reduces the generation during the manufacture of rubber bands. So this is the example for reuse. Now comes to the to the recycling. Recycling is the processing of discarded material into a new useful products. Recycling is the reprocessing of discarded material into a new useful products. And its example is the old aluminum cans and glass bottles are melted and recast into new can and bottle. Preparation of cellulose material, insulation from the paper. And next one is the preparation of automobile body and construction material from the steel cans. And reduce, reuse, and recycle. These are the 3R, as we have already discussed. 3R. This will help in the save money, energy, and it will reduce pollution also. Reduce pollution. So this 3R is a very important factor in the solid waste management area, because solid waste management, if we will reduce the waste, then automatically waste is reduced. If we'll reuse the waste that is producing, then this is comes under the category of reuse. And then if we will go the recycling processes, like the reprocessing of discarded material into a new and useful products. And the example for that recycle is the old aluminum cans and glass bottles are melted and recast into a new cans and bottles. Next one is the preparation of cellulose insulation from papers, and the preparation of automobile body and construction material from steel cans. So this is the example for recycling of waste. So this 3R is the very important in terms of solid waste management, because if you will do 3R properly for the solid waste management, it will help us to save money, save energy, and reduce pollutions also. Now, the disposal of waste material. First one is the landfill. Landfill should be there for the disposal of waste material. Solid waste are placed in a sanitary landfill in which alternate layers of 80 centimeter thick refuse is covered with selected earth fill of 20 centimeter thickness. Landfill is placed in a outskirt of city, where the municipal waste that should be dumped, and the landfill will make like the alternate layers of 80 centimeter thick refuse is covered with selected earth fill of 20 centimeter thickness. And after 2 to 3 years of solid waste, volume is going to be shrink by the 25 to 30%, and that land we can use for the parks, roads, and small building. And it is the very most common and cheapest method for the disposal of solid waste, and it is mostly employed in the Indian cities, because that landfill is always presenting outside of the outskirt of the city, from where all the solid waste that is generated from any city will disposed of and it is a placed in a sanitary landfill, which is with the alternate 80 centimeter thick refuse is covered with the selected earth fill. Sometimes we will select some soil is there, some layer of solid waste will dump in a landfill area, and the upper one 20 centimeter thickness of soil will fill, and then again solid waste, and then again some thickness will be there for 20 centimeter, and this is the type of landfill. So after 2 to 3 years, the solid waste volume is going to be shrink by 25 to 30%, and that place you can use for the park, roads, and small building. And it is a very common and cheapest method for the disposal of solid waste, and is mostly employed in the Indian cities. And now we're going to discuss about the advantages and disadvantages related with the landfill method of solid waste disposal. First advantage we'll get from this landfill method is like it is a very simple and economical also. Segregation of waste is not required. Landfill areas can be reclaimed and used for other purpose, and it can be converted into the low-lying marshy waste and land into the useful areas. Natural resources are then again returned into the soil and recycled. Next one is the disadvantage that is related with the landfill. Disadvantage like the benefit which is not get from the landfill, and it is like it will always require a very large area. Land availability is away from the town. Transportation cost is very much high, and it leads to the bad odor if landfill is not properly managed. If landfill is not properly managed, it will create some bad odor due to the production of methane from that place. During the rainy season, when too much rain is coming to the landfill area, automatically that place is going to be converted into the marshy area, and due to from this marshy area, one gas will produce, and that gas is named as methane. Methane will be very much dangerous, and generally methane will produce from the marshy area, and landfill area will be a source of mosquito and flies, and that require application of insecticides and pesticides at regular intervals. So these are the cares that is very much important, very much necessary for the management of landfills, because the landfills area will be a source of mosquito and flies, and it will requiring application of insecticides and pesticide at regular interval. It causes fire hazard due to formation of methane in wet weather. In the wet weather, sometimes the formation of due to the formation of methane, wet weather means rainy season, due to the cause of fire hazard due to the formation of methane in the rainy season. So in the rainy season, that landfill is very much dangerous, because it will produce methane gas, and methane gas will causes fire. Methane gas is a source of producing very bad odor if the landfill is not properly managed. And next one is the incineration method. The incineration method is the method of municipal solid waste are burned in a furnace called as incinerators, and combustible substances such as rubbish, garbage, dead organism, and non-combustible matter such as glass, proclaim, and metals are separated before feeding to the incinerator. The heat produced in the incinerator during burning of refuse is used in the form of steam power for generation of electricity through turbines. In this method, municipal solid waste are burned in a furnace called as incinerators, and combustible substances such as rubbish, garbage, dead organism, and non-combustible metals such as glass, proclaim, and metals are separated before feeding to the incinerator. Municipal solid waste is generally wet and a very high calorific value. Therefore, it has to be dried first before burning, and waste is dried in a preheated form, from where it is taken to a large incinerating furnace that is called as destructor, which can incinerate about 100 to 150 tons of waste per hour. So incinerator is a very common method for the solid waste disposal, because solid waste are burned at a very high temperature in a furnace that is called as incinerator. And first we have to segregate like combustible substance and non-combustible substance. Then both can be burned at a different places, and the heat produced in the incinerator during burning is used in the form of steam power for generation of electricity. This is all about the incinerator. Now comes to the advantage and disadvantage related with the incinerator. And advantage is that the residue that will formed after the incinerator residue is only 20 to 25% of the original, and it can be used as a clinker after the treatment. It requires very little space, and cost of transportation is not high if the incinerator is located within the city limits, and it is safest from the hygienic point of view. An incinerator plant of 3000 tons per day capacity can generate 3 megawatt of power. And the disadvantage related with the incinerator is that its capital and operating cost is very high, and operation needed skilled personnel. Formation of smoke, dust, and acids needs further disposal that may causes air pollution. So this is the benefits that is related with the incinerator activity. Incinerator will reduce the residue is only 20 to 25% of this original weight, and it can be used as a clinker after treatment and required very little space for the disposal, and the cost of transportation is not high if the incinerator is located within the city, and the capital cost and operating cost is very high. Operation needed skilled personnel. Formation of smoke, dust, and acids needs further disposal, and that may causes air pollution. So that disadvantage, very important disadvantage related with the use of incinerator is that it will causes air pollution. Formation of smoke, dust, and acids needs further disposal that may causes air pollution. Now next method for the disposal of solid waste is the composting method. So composting method, what is doing in the composting method is that it will involve with the bulk organic waste is converted into fertilizer by biological activity, and the separated compostable waste is dumped in the underground trench in layers of 1.5 meter and finally covered with the earth of 20 centimeter and left for decomposition. What will happen inside a composting tank is like waste is filled in a tank where it will be covered with the soil and underground trenches in the layer of 1.5 meter and finally it will be covered with soil, and some decomposition, some biological decomposition is happening inside that tank. So within 2 to 3 days biological activity will start, and that organic matter is destroyed by the actinomycetes bacteria, and lot of heat is liberated, increasing the temperature of compost by 75 degrees Celsius, and the refuse is finally converted into brown color odorless mass called as humus. What will happen in composting tank? Actinomycetes bacteria will start their activity. Bacteria will start their activity. They will decompose the organic matter that is present in the waste, and the composting is mainly done for those waste that is organic in nature, like those waste that is a fruit peel, waste that is originating from kitchen activity, from household activity, kitchen waste, hotel waste, all these waste that is organic in nature. So these organic waste will put in a tank with the layers of soil, with the layers of some bacteria. That bacteria is called as actinomycetes bacteria. So sometimes that bacteria action will start automatically. Sometimes the people will add that bacteria into that composting tank. When the bacteria will start their activity, some heat is going to produce and the temperature of that composting tank is increased up to 75 degrees Celsius, and the refuse is then converted into a brown colored soil material that is called as humus. Humus is a very important compost for the agriculture activity, and that is organic in nature also. So that composting is very valuable for the disposal of organic waste, because with the all organic waste is dumped in a tank where one bacteria is introduced, or sometimes that bacteria will produce automatically, and that actinomycetes bacteria start their activity by reducing the volume of the solid waste, and the mainly the solid waste that is coming in the composting activity are the vegetable waste, fruit waste, all these waste. So, and after the decomposition of all those waste by the bacteria, one substance is produced, one odorless brown color substance is produced, that is called as humus. And humus is very much important manure for today's activity, because it is a very important compost for the agricultural activity, and it is organic in nature also. So it is a best alternate method for the fertilizers, or for the chemical fertilizer. So composting is very important waste. You can see this in the picture, like one tank is there, one box is there, and inside the box some fruit peel is there, some vegetable peel is there, and they are kept inside the box, and some bacterial action will start, and with that bacterial action, that all organic waste is converted into organic substance that is called as humus. Now comes to the advantage and disadvantage that is related with the composting activity. So manure is first one. We'll discuss about the benefits associated with the composting. So the benefit is like the manure added to soil increase the water retention and ion exchange capacity of soil. This method can be used to treat several industrial solid waste, and manure can be sold, thereby reducing cost of disposing waste, and recycling can be done for all those waste. So advantage that is related with the composting method is that the benefits is like manure added to soil increases water retention and ion exchange capacity of soil, and this method can be used to treat several industrial solid waste also, not only the kitchen waste, not only the waste from the household activity, some industrial waste also, and manure can be sold in the market, and that is reducing the cost of disposing waste. And disadvantage related with the composting activity is that non-consumable have to be disposed separately. means those waste that are non-consumable, that can be disposed separately, and that technology has not caught up with the farmers, and hence does not have any assured market value. So this technology is not too much important, too much related with the farmers. Farmers are not using this kind of method due to some its disadvantages, and that will not getting to be any assured value also. Now this is all about the methods of solid waste disposal, and now comes to the incinerator part also, because incinerator method, in this method, municipal solid waste, incinerator is also a method of disposing of the solid waste. And incinerator method will involve the burning of the solid waste in a very high furnace, in a very high temperature furnace, and the combustible material like rubbish, garbage, dead organism, and non-combustible materials such as glass, proclain, and metals are separated before feeding to the incinerator. And the heat produced in the incinerator during the burning of refuse can be used to provide the steam power for the generation of electricity. And here you can see in the picture, like this is the picture of an incinerator plant in a city. Incinerator plant is nothing but that is the burning of waste on at a very high temperature, and the very high temperature, and that heat, that refuse is used in the form of steam power for the generation of electricity. And what will happen inside an incinerator, that the solid waste generally produced in the India is having a high calorific value. So before putting it inside the incinerator plant, it has to be dried. It has to be dried before burning, because they have very high calorific value, and so it has to be dried, and waste is dried in a preheated form, which is taken to a larger incinerator furnace, and that is called as destructor, and that can incinerate about 100 to 150 ton of waste per day. So this is because of the waste that is producing today's generation is having a very high calorific value. So for this, we have to do that drying of the waste is important, and waste is drying in a large furnace that is called as destructor, that can incinerate about 100 to 150 tons per day. And the waste that is burned inside a incinerator plant is the combustible substance like rubbish, garbage, dead organism, and non-combustible matters like glass, proclain, and metals are separated before feeding to the incinerator. And the heat produced in the incinerator plant during burning of refuse is used in the form of steam power for generation of electricity. This is the advantage and disadvantage related with the incinerator plant, that in incinerator plant will residue is only 20 to 25% of the original, and it can be used as a clinker after treatment, and it requires very little space. Its capital and operating cost is too much high, because this is too much high for the incinerator plant, and operation needs skilled personals, and formation of smoke, dust, and ashes needs further disposal that may causes air pollution. Formation of smoke, dust, and ashes needs further disposal that may causes air pollution. So these are, and now the process of composting. So as we have discussed about the different methods of the solid waste management. Municipal solid waste can be disposed in a composting method. Sometimes it will be disposed in the landfill. Sometimes incinerator is done. All these methods are related with the disposal of solid waste in any area. So all method is very much eco-friendly method, and we have to adopt. And nowadays we are adopting this method for the disposal of solid waste, because disposal of solid waste is very much important, because solid waste is producing too much type of disease. That disease is a health hazard, is related with the human being and human society, because due to increase in population growth, due to increase in urbanization, our waste production is also increased, because the per capita increase of waste is in India is 2.5 per kg in a day. So with that much amount of solid waste, our waste production is too much in India. And mostly the waste produced in India is in organic nature, because mostly waste produced is from the kitchen waste, hotel waste, from a college canteen waste. These waste are organic in nature, because they are the waste of the vegetable waste, fruit waste, and like that. And for this method, composting is the very best method for the decomposition of waste, because composting is done for the organic waste, and with the activity of actinomycetes bacteria, that a lot of heat is liberated, and that will increase the temperature of the composting tank, and some humus will produce. That humus we can use in agriculture activity as in the form of black order is there, and that humus is very much important fertilizer, and it is organic in nature also. So this is all about the advantage and disadvantage of solid waste. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.